for me, what was really defining was that instead of the chemistry of product, as a chemical engineer, I found myself experimenting the chemistry between people and nations, finding solutions with hundreds of peers around the world. Like an engineer, I was feeling that I was building bridges, but among people.
Hi, and welcome to What the Earth, featuring smart and personal conversations with experts and thinkers working to solve today's biggest environmental challenges. I'm Sarah Shakur Sawah, and I'm here with Yamide Dagnet, NRDC Senior Vice President of our International Department, and we're talking about COP30. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to talk to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
But we probably need to take a step back and explain to people, what is COP and how did you get involved?
So COP stands for Conference of the Parties. This is the ultimate decision-making body of the UN Convention for Climate Change. The UN Convention is a fundamental treaty to address climate change. It was set to stabilize the level of emissions that are harmful, for the health, of the planet and of the people. 10 years ago, countries agreed that this stabilization was not working, that we were already reaching dangerous level. This is why they agreed to adopt the Paris Agreement, which is not as voluntary as the UN Convention. It actually bind countries to come back every 5 years, with plans, that's supposed to demonstrate more ambitious action on the ground to reduce emissions and to build resilience with the investment needed, to get to where they need to be. But it also brings all countries to collectively make sure that the temperature increase at global level does not go beyond 2 degrees Celsius. And if possible, it doesn't go beyond 1.5. Why? Because 0.5 degrees really makes a difference. It's about losing all your coral reef or keeping a fraction at least of them. It's about having some island disappearing completely. So it's about also survival.
So this will be the 30th year of COP. It's also the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. And you were there 10 years ago. So tell me, how did you get involved in all of this?
This is a very atypical journey, but a journey that can really be the one for everyone, I guess. I come from a very small island, the Caribbean, shaped like a butterfly.
Let me guess, I remember,
yes, the name is Guadeloupe.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a teenager, I was looking at the sky, dreaming to be a pilot, connecting people safely around the world, or to send rockets to the space. So nothing to do with politics, with diplomacy. But then I ended up as a chemical engineer. I was with a specialization on environment, quality, safety. And I did an internship in a petrochemical company in Brazil in 2001. The greatest polluters were actually displaying some efforts to contend with sustainability, to respond to the need for sustainability and the need for equitable outcomes for society. So for me, that's a world of possibility and bringing everybody hands on deck. My director asked me to attend a climate conference, and it was the 10th anniversary of the convention.
Oh, wow.
And there I met an expert from a non-governmental organizations on environment that would become my employer 10 years after.
Wow.
Just before the Paris Agreement. I joined as the UK deputy focal point for IPCC just before the IPCC got the Nobel Peace Prize. And I came at the time when the UK was setting up the first climate change bill and underpinning the data and the decision-making process by managing the greenhouse gas inventory. Over time, I was asked to join the negotiations team and to support the transparency framework. For me, what was really defining was that instead of the chemistry of product, as a chemical engineer, I found myself experimenting the chemistry between people and nations, to come up with landing zones, with compromise, to really move things forward. Finding solutions with hundreds of peers around the world. Like an engineer, I was feeling that I was building bridges, but among people, again. And able to catalyze creating the framework, the multilateral framework that would ultimately catalyze innovation on the ground.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to do a little bit more than engineering, a little bit more than negotiating. I wanted to actually power the field. So I had a stint in philanthropy. And now coming back to NRDC, back to the field, it's really exciting to be at a time when, with all those geopolitical headwinds, we're still going to push for making the world safer, to protect people, especially the most vulnerable countries. And, what was really interesting during my journey is being opened to uncertainty, actually daring to do also what a little bit outside the box. As I said, from chemical engineer or from pilot to this, you need to keep really open. And I think this is, what I am hoping everybody will take from this story.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I noticed you're smiling a lot when you talk about your experience, and in a time where maybe hope doesn't feel very strong at the moment. Why is this COP so important for us in a world where climate deniers exist and misinformation is spreading? How is this year more important than other years?
This year is more important than any other years. And I think we will see over time that, there's this saying from Maya Angelou. People will not remember what you say. They will remember how you make them feel. Climate, you feel climate.
Yeah.
I can talk a lot. Ultimately, everybody will see that there's something in their backyard that is changing. The price of water, scarcity of water is going to affect different parts of, the economy and their lives. You do have, and of course, unfortunately, it's affecting those who have contributed the least to the problem the most.
Right.
And I think, but they are not just victims. Actually, a lot of great ideas, solutions, and innovations are also coming from them.
Right.
Women hold the keys to some of, those prospects, youth. And I've been working with them. And I think this is, they are giving me hope. And it's not going to turn overnight, but, the shift, the train for just transitions, for green transition is already there. The fact that the cost of renewable energy have plummeted 90%, over decades, show that, there's no turning back.
Right.
We need to build resilience. Because of all the delayed actions, and we have to do much better, but certainly we cannot avoid some impact. So we need to build resilience. And there was a lot of conversation on how to build resilience. The health sector was there, climate health, how to tackle extreme heat and addressing cooling. Yeah. We are starting to make the connection, how to protect the greatest aquarium of the world, in the Saguaro, the Gulf of California, and still, make sure that there's revenue streams, but with renewable energy, not LNG necessarily, and how to work with the investors to make sure that the investments into the people, into those clean energy is there. And I see this momentum. I want to believe. I'm believing.
Yeah, honestly, your spark is inspiring for me. It's giving me renewed energy and hope as well. And, it kind of feels also like a full circle moment. You started your career in Brazil. You're going to Brazil for COP30.
Absolutely.
What would be one thing that you hope to leave and accomplish when you're there?
Look, I really hope and believe that it's going to be still a moment, for solidarity, a moment for accountability. We may not be where we need to be.
Yeah.
But we will agree to accelerate, our efforts. We will agree to figure out tools to amplify and empower stakeholders that we have left behind.
Yeah.
We will agree to reach out to the less converted. We will agree to speak differently to how we've been speaking. Not speaking just in terms of carbon, in terms of molecules, but in terms of heart with artists. Really to bring the mind together to really keep people safer than they would.
Yeah. I think about my mother comes from a small island in South Asia, which was affected by one of the worst natural disasters, the tsunami of 2004. And then my father comes from East Africa, which has been dealt with not just war, but drought and famine.
Yeah.
And I think about people like you who are working really hard to build a brighter future for not just this generation, but the generations to come. And I'm very grateful for you, Yamide. And I really appreciate this conversation and seeing what our future could look like. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you know what? The youth, the spirit of the youth, when I started, I was probably among the youngest. There were not many people of color, even, within the negotiation, especially negotiating for a country in Europe. But there were not a lot of young people in the negotiations. And now, here we go, the negotiator from Rwanda on finance is a young woman, on loss and damage. In Ethiopia, we see this. So I see the difference. 10 years ago, climate justice was taboo, let alone racial justice. I think this is a space that is now contended with the intersectionality. It's about, again, at the end of the day, creating an environment where everybody cannot just survive, but thrive. Even in this country, there's cooperation, peer exchange happening, especially at city level. When it's so complicated at federal level, cities are doing things for their constituencies, for their people. And I had the privilege, as a board member of the Resilient City Network to participate in a peer exchange between 4 cities: New Orleans, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Houston, Texas, and Boston, Massachusetts. 4 different cities. Not always so many things in common, but what they do have in common is that they have to tackle extreme heat. It's increasing everywhere. They have to tackle more extreme weather events, including hurricane. They need, therefore, to put together shelters, especially for the most vulnerable, and shelters that could withstand, those extreme weathers, And some of the solutions include, and the best solutions includes making sure that they're powered through renewable energy. Some of the solutions include thinking about the value chain to get food, and address for desert. All of this is linked. So therefore empowering the farmers to tackle, with extreme weather events that would affect their yields. So what was extraordinary is that in those conversations, it was not just the officials, working with the mayors of those cities that were there. They were discussing with faith-based communities. They were discussing with architects, engineers, with health workers. So many, people that are part of our lives that we tend to take for granted, were involved. And, we had, the possibility to do a scenario thinking about the future, what it could look like.
Yeah, I love that. And that gives me hope and excitement, I think, knowing that irregardless of what's happening at the international level, we have these local communities coming together and finding solutions that can benefit all of us.
Absolutely.
I think those kind of stories are what people need to hear to feel inspired, but to also know that this is what happens when you mobilize communities, when people get together and find their own solutions. And it can outweigh the kind of negative information that tends to spread when it comes to our climate and our planet. And hearing these stories are so inspiring, and I think that's something that I would like to take from this conversation, is ensuring that those type of stories are out there and people are hearing about it.
And we're going to the COP. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people think, the UN multilateralism does not work. Mm-hmm. I think we are facing a moment when we need to reassess how to make it work better.
Right.
It was created in 1945, after the World War II. Mm-hmm. It was a different world. And now, we need to reimagine how the governance can be better. But hey, again, there's example where it worked.
Yeah.
Again, the new, the High Seas Treaty, was just ratified. And that's going to really make a difference on how to protect, our oceans. It's, again, we can spend another hour to talk about this, but countries manage to move forward together still. And this is a way to go.
Yeah.
People can still find a way to come together, make decisions for a better future.
I love that. In a time that has been very challenging for all of us, hearing this and being able to come together as one world and moving forward with changes and collaborating, I think that's important. And that's a story we have to tell.
Yes, and this is what COP30 needs to be about.
Yeah. Thank you, Yamide.
Thank you.